crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. I showed this one on my blog the other day and I was asked if I could do a video to show how I made it. The difference between this one and this is on this one I put this frame around it, but once I started playing with it I did one without it and I prefer without the frame, but when I get to this part I will show you how I did that, just in case you prefer that one. So to start off with, I will tell you the card pieces that you're going to need. You need a card base in Delightful Dijon, and that measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored and folded at 4 1/8, which is 21 centimeters by 14.5 centimeters, scored and folded at 10.5 centimeters. Then a layer of Smokey Slate, which measures 4 inches by 5 5/8 inches, which is 10.25 by 14.25 centimeters. A layer of Whisper White, which measures 3 7/8 inches by 5.5 inches, which is 10 by 14 centimeters. A layer of the Delightful Dijon White Star design, which is from the Presents and Pinecones designer series paper. A layer of, let's go back, the size of this is 3 3/4 inches by 5 3/8 inches, which is 9.5 by 13.5 centimeters. And then a layer of our Vellum Cardstock, which measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 3/8, which is 9.5 by 13.5. So those two pieces are the same size, or should be. And then you'll need a piece of Whisper White, which should measure about 2.5 inches by 2 inches, which is 6.75 by 5 inches. This is bigger than that. And then you need a piece of Delightful Dijon, which measures about 4 inches by 2 inches, which is 10 by 5 centimeters. This one has a bit of a pattern on it. I'll explain that when we come to that as well. So to start off with, I'm going to do the bits of the painting. So I need the vellum, which is going to be the embossing, and the white layer so that I can do the outside just there. So to start off with the Whisper White, I'm going to use Smokey Slate Ink, and the stamp set is Touches of no it isn't, it's Timeless Textures, and it's this little stamp here that I'm going to be using. Oh, it's out already. Right, so all I need to do is to do the stamping around the edge there. Did I stamp off on that? I think I did, didn't I? Let me see how light or dark it comes up. Yes, I did stamp off. I'm trying to do it so that I've got pattern all the way around the edge here. And to make sure that you have done enough, if you take the die that you'll be using, which is this one from lots of labels framelits, it's the largest one. If you just place that round there, approximately in the centre, then you can see what's going to be left once you've done your die cutting. Okay, so let's move that out of the way, it'll be easier for you to see. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be left with. I was thinking that maybe I'd have to fill that in, but I don't. That's going to be fine. And the other stamping I'm going to be doing is this one, which is the heat embossing, and the stamp set. Oops, sorry about that. It's the Angel, and this is from Wonder of Christmas. Now, if you've got a clear mount stamp like I have, when you put this onto your block, you need a block E, and do it so that this side of the skirt is in more or less a straight line, so that this will fit on nicely. We do lose a little bit of the wing that side and possibly a little bit on the banner, but otherwise it all fits in nicely as long as you get this positioned correctly. So first of all, I'm going to use my embossing buddy, and then I'm going to use Versamark to stamp up my stamp. Another thing to pay attention to is with the stamp you need the bottom of the feet to be up 7/8 of an inch. Now, I have just knocked my ruler on the floor, so let's use this one. So if I got a pencil here, I know I have because I was sharpening it earlier on. Why do these things always decide to go walkabouts? Okay, I'll have to use a biro then, but be extremely careful. I certainly don't recommend using a biro. But 7/8 of an inch is about there. This is going to be covered anyway, so 7/8. It doesn't have to be precise. Oh, come on. Viro doesn't like writing on vellum, does it? Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, how much can you see? I think what I'll do, up there is too high and down here you can't see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a dark line on here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to place this on here, and my 2 marks I'm putting onto that line. So once I've inked up, I need the bottom toe on the stamp, this one here, to come below this line. Doesn't look very straight, does it? That doesn't matter, it's close enough, I'm sure. Okay, so just make sure that I'm halfway between here, which is a bit difficult trying to see white vellum on white paper, but that should be. Fortunately, because the position of the angel, she doesn't have to be absolutely spot on. Okay, that looks fine. So let's have another sheet of paper so that I can use my embossing powder. just close these up for a moment. I did try doing silver embossing powder, but I decided the copper looked best. Yep, I think that's all right. So let's pop this back into the pot. I'll rest that there. Now I do recommend that with your heat tool that you do let it warm up first so that this melts very nice and quickly. Otherwise vellum can get quite warped. So bear with me for the noise for a moment. There we go. Now one other bit of stamping we need to do is, when I did my first card, this one, I used one of my blender pens with my white craft ink and painted the back, but it didn't look very nice once as I was putting the card together, so I actually cut out and put paper behind, which is what I'm going to do now. But equally it means that we don't need to worry about painting this. So on that scrap of Whisper White that I said you needed, you'll need to clean your stamp first because you've got Versamark on that. Then we need to stamp it in Smokey Slate, and then we need to cut the dress out. Fortunately it's a nice straight lined dress, nothing too fussy to cut out. Also the lines on the dress are quite thick, which is very, very useful because you need to be able to cut through the lines so that you've got a bit of the grey top and bottom. You don't want any white showing on either side of it because obviously this is going to be seen through your vellum. Okay, so when you're cutting it, just make sure that you've got a bit of the grey top and bottom. It's quite easy to cut, I think. I know quite a few people don't like. Well, this isn't really fussy cutting because they're quite straightforward cuts. But let's just say, I know quite a few people don't like cutting. It's going a bit too low, come back again. Right, so this is the first piece. That's the skirt. And now this is the bodice with the sleeves. There we go. So they're just the two little pieces that we need. Right, so that's our stamping done. Next we'll do the painting. Two ways you can do your painting. You can either do using a blender pen with ink that you've squeezed into the back of your ink pad, but I'm using marker pens. So I've got So Saffron, Pink Pirouette and Smokey Slate, and I've also got the Stampin chalk marker, the white one. That's just going to be for the shoes. Now we're going to be colouring from the back. Let's move that out of the way, that's come up and stuck. Right, okay. So that's just the toe part of the shoes. And the hair I'm doing So Saffron. I think if you wanted, you could probably pick some bits out to paint in the headband. I think there's probably some flowers in there that could be done. Okay, so that's the hair. I'm also using So Saffron for the banner. This is the only sentiment that I'm going to have on the card. When I said earlier that I used my white craft ink on my blender pen, when I was writing about it on my blog, I did say that that's not recommended practice. I don't know whether it's going to clean off my brush or not, so my marker pen, blender pen rather, it's certainly made a mess of it. I don't know why I didn't think of the chalk marker. But hey, we learn about these things, don't we? Hopefully you learn by my mistakes. Right, that's the banner done. Now for the wings I'm using Smokey Slate because I want them to be like silver. I'm not going over them lots because I don't want them too dark. A little bit round her hand and then a little bit under her arm, and then there's a shaped bit under her arm that side. There we go, let's just make sure I've got round to the top edges here. Now the only other bit to do is her skin, which is her hands, face and her feet. So that's her face. Like this, it's a bit too pink for her face, but by the time the card is all put together, she's got a nice colour to her. Okay, so turn that over. There we go. I think that's got a bit of a dark line there. We just put that on plain white. Made it come up a bit dark, so I need to make the other side a bit darker. That's better. Right, okay, so next we need to die cut the frame here, and I'm also going to show you how I did the frame on this one here. And of course we need the stars. So I'll get my Big Shot. The first part I'm going to do is the white, and I'm just going to eyeball this to be in the centre and to be straight. So make sure it's straight down here, in the centre and in the centre that way. Let me just lift this up so that I can just make sure. I think that looks okay. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using. That will be ideal for something. And just to show you what I would have done with the if I'd put this, if I'd done that bit there. Okay, so I would have had another piece of cardstock. I would have put this on, making sure that I had enough edge to cut around it. And then you will see that it will leave a ridge around it. Okay, so save that one again because that will work out as a layer. But you can see there's a line all the way round. Well, if you cut round the outside of that line, that will give you a nice frame that will fit round like this. Okay, so that's how I did that bit. The other thing that I need for my Big Shot, the stars. Now, I found this scrap in my colour folder with the delightful Dijon, and I decided to use this. You could use plain if you wanted. If you wanted to do the same as this, what I used was delightful Dijon ink, and it was this stamp here. Okay, that you don't have to do obviously, but if you did, that's it. And then the stars that I used were from Starlight Thin Bits, and it was that one and that one. I'm only doing these two because I've already got all the others done there. Okay, so they're right. that one. And there's that one. So I can move this back out of the way. And I think all we really need to do next is to put the card together. Right, need that. Right, okay, let's leave that one there so you can see what I'm doing. That's it. Right, I'm going to sponge the inside edge of this one, and I'm using my dauber. I have one for every colour, and I mark them Smokey Slate. I'll move that out of the way in case I get messy here. Just make sure there aren't any. Oh, did you see that? A little bit of a surge in the power. The lights went down. Right, with this, and I will need this bit again. So first of all, I'm just going to go around the edge. As you know, I don't normally do sponging, very, very rarely, but occasionally jobs like this really do call for it, and it makes so much difference. And I think probably the reason why I prefer this without that smoky slate frame around it, I feel that it looks a lot more open without it. I'd be interested to hear what you think. Now the reason I've brought that piece of paper over is because as I'm going around here, you may notice that the corners are being missed, because obviously you can't get into that corner. So all I do is just very gently go like that. There we go. See, it just gets in the corner done just a little bit. Just finishes it off. Right. Now, unusually for me, I'm going to be using my snail. So what we need to do first is put these three together. And I'm going to use my silicone mat. So, right, first of all I'm going to put this one onto that. Is that how I did it first? No, I didn't, did I? I did that one first. I was very careful about how I did this because I didn't want to get any of the glue visible on the vellum, which is why I did this one first. Right, so that went through there, and I am just looking at the angel to make sure she's fitting in there nicely. So I can see that wing is coming right to the edge, and that banner is just over as well. Okay. So I think now I can put all of this one down. Yep. So at least I can get this all adhered down and there won't be any snail showing through. Okay, so that's like that. Now I'm going to put this piece on here, and then we can get the dress adhered onto the angel. Okay, so that's like that. I wouldn't want to try this with Tombow as much as I do love using that. I think it'd be far too easy for it to start oozing in places where I don't want it to go. Right, that's better. Now this is where I need to get the dress on. So these are my two pieces. I'll do the skirt first. The side that's got the lines on it, that's what's going to be facing up. So I need to put Tombow on the back. Okay, so I've got it so that it's stuck on my finger, and I can open up, and then I can put this in place behind. Now what you should find is that you can put that skirt on the back, and you should be able to do it so you can't see any of the stamped lines. That's why it's important for you to, when you're cutting, to cut through the grey line without having anything extra, because it would show on the outside of the copper line, or being too short because it would show that your skirt is short. Now holding that in place, don't allowing it to move, push this down and then let it walk this way so you don't get any if you watch it all the time, you can see if it moves, you can see if all of a sudden you start getting the stamp lines. Okay, and then by doing that you've got your skirt stuck down there. Okay, but it's all nice and white on the front. Now we're going to do the same with the bodice. So that's blue on the sleeves and a little bit on the bodice. Again, have your stamp lines facing upwards. Okay. And then fit it behind the bodice on the angel. Make sure you don't have any stamped lines showing. And once you're happy you have it in place, and you can push it down. Okay, so you can't see any of the stamped lines now. Okay, so now we've done that, we're going to put some more snail down the sides so that it's not showing through the vellum. A bit of a squeaky snail there. Okay, so there we go. Now before I adhere this onto here, I like to put some wink of Stella. If you have a look around the edge, I don't know whether you noticed when I was showing you earlier, on the Smokey Slate layer, you see it's got wink of Stella all the way around. So I'm going to do that, and all you need to do is with your pen, you don't even need to do the whole length of it, half of your brush will be more than enough. So just colour around the edge. Okay, just do the four sides. This is nice and easy. I did try on one of the cards earlier on making it by using the silver glimmer, but I just felt that that was just too much. That was the time when I was trying to do the embossing with silver embossing powder, but it was a bit overpowering, I think. And this Wink of Stella is just so nice and subtle when you've got something like this to do. Okay, so while I'm using this, I might as well do the rest. And the rest of it is I paint everything on the angel except her skin. So I do her wings, not her hands, the bit under her arm there, the bodice on her dress, hair, the other wing, sleeve, the wing in there, the banner, there we go, and the skirt. There we go, and then just the shoes. I can feel I've got a bit of glue on the outside. That's because I went right on the edge with the snail. There we go, there it is. Put a gentle little rub and it comes off. It seems to have gone a little bit pink. Where's my eraser? Make sure we start off with a clean corner. I don't know what the pink was, but it's gone. That feels right now. There's another bit there. So just check around the edges before you go any further. Make sure the glue has gone. And then put some glue on the back here. I'm using Tombow, but again you can use snail, fast fuse, tear and tape, whatever your preferred adhesive is. Go, and then more adhesive. Put this onto the delightful Dijon. Got a little bit of glue there. So there we go. That's that all stuck together. So now we've got our stars. I should have 4 large ones and 4. What did I do with the ones that I just cut out? It's all very well cutting extras out and then promptly losing them. Oh, Oh, not to worry, I'll get these done and then I'll won't make you sit and watch me hunt. You're probably sitting there saying, Jan, behind you. No, they're gone. Right, okay. So imagine that I've got 4 of each here. Now with the big ones, there's 1 in each corner, pointing upwards, and with these pointed bits here, I make it just on the outside of that line there. And then 1 on this side, again on the outside of this line, and I try and get them sort of in a line. Then 1 more up here. Again, so it's in a straight line there. Oops, blowing bubbles. So again, keeping the tool points straight. This one I put lower and off to the side, and this one in the centre I do it pointing into that gap. Okay, so it's pointing into that gap there. And I do the same with the others. And then this one. There we go. And then the final step is to paint these with Wink of Stella. So this really does finish up a beautifully sparkly card. But the thing I like about Wink of Stella is that it's a discreet kind of sparkle. I mean, I love the dazzling diamonds and the glimmer paper and everything, but I think sometimes it's nice just to have something a little bit more discreet. And this is definitely that. There we go. When you see this on my blog the day that I post the video, it will have all the flowers, all the stars there. So there we go. Many thanks for joining me today. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you give this a try. And there's the one with the banner on it. If you have any questions, please leave a message in the box below or send me an email to JanB at janbcards.com. I'm always happy to help. If you'd like to purchase any of the products that I featured here today, please go to my blog and you'll find a Shop Now button, or there's a link in the box below that'll take you straight to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button, and then you'll be notified every time I upload a new video, which is normally Wednesdays and Sundays. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.